to be good enough, good enough.
Hey, my beautiful friends. So this episode is for every woman who's ever felt the weight of becoming while still breaking. Every person, really. For anyone who's cried in their bed, on the hotel room floor, in their dorm room. For anyone that's ever wondered, will this ever get any easier? This is becoming her. The emotional work behind building your dream life. So let's start with the truth. While I've been building a business, launching a podcast, being a travel nurse educator, showing up with Sparkle online, there were nights when I sobbed in silence. In hotel rooms, after long days of being a clinical trial educator, I felt lonely. I'd stare at the ceiling, feeling like a fraud, thinking, is the work that I do making a difference? Is anyone going to ever buy this? Am I good enough? Am I smart enough? And even while earning awards at work, glowing up externally, getting so much attention, I was wrestling with shame, imposter syndrome, deep feelings of shame, and deep, trauma responses. And I want to talk about that duality because here's the truth. You can make good decisions while making bad ones. You can be healing and self-sabotaging. You can be wildly ambitious and incredibly insecure. You can be deeply loved and not trust it, not be able to receive it. We are not one-dimensional. We are walking, breathing contradictions. And that's okay, right? But the world often calls that being a hypocrite, right? You should be all healed or all broken, all confident or completely insecure. But healing nor life looks like a highlight reel, right? It's messy, it's layered, it's contradictory. And so one of the things that's helped me the most, besides thought work and, therapy, reading, podcast, is movement. Even when I was scared, even when I was ashamed, even when my hands have been shaking, I launched the thing. I pressed record. I taught the class. I gave the presentation. The action, the movement healed me more than perfection ever could. And I want to say this clearly. Sometimes the only thing that separates a breakdown from a breakthrough is a tiny spark of movement. So don't let perfection get in the way. Overcome that fear, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, like Mel Robbins says, and do it anyway. There were seasons I made poor decisions, not because I didn't know better. I did know better sometimes. But sometimes I was desperate to escape pressure, trauma, the roles I thought I had to play, to escape myself. I rebelled in subtle ways, sometimes messy ways, trying to take my power back. Sometimes I've acted out. Sometimes I pushed people away who loved me. Sometimes I chose attention over alignment. And for a long time, I carried shame about those moments. Deep, blistering shame. But here's one of the reframes that's helped me to heal. What if those messy moments were a cry for sovereignty? What if those messy moments were part of my journey? What if they were attempts, even if they were imperfect ones, to reclaim myself, to overcome my fear, to figure out who I was and what I wanted? And here's the hardest part to share. Sometimes while I was earning degrees, getting promotions, being featured at work, I was also self-sabotaging behind the scenes, checking out emotionally, being reckless with my heart and with my body, drinking too much. Not because I didn't care, but because I cared so much that it hurt. I was terrified of failing, terrified of being too much, even terrified of success. I sabotaged things that were good because I didn't believe I deserved them. And that's the psychological underpinning of self-sabotage. It's not laziness or lack of self-discipline. It's a form of emotional protection. We stay in chaos because it's familiar. We run from peace because we don't feel worthy of it. I've learned to forgive the version of me who made those choices. I understand now that she was hurting, that she was searching, that she was learning. She was longing to feel free and to learn about herself. And now I channel that same desire for freedom into aligned action, into helping you. So let's talk about the duality of becoming. You can be brave and still be afraid. You can be radiant and still unraveling. You can be a masterpiece and a work in progress. There's no final form. There's just your next level of truth. We are all a work in progress, and we will be until we no longer live here, right? We're no longer on earth. I used to think I had to arrive before I could lead, but leadership isn't about having it all figured out. It's about walking the path honestly. And yes, there have been times that I thought I'm too messy to lead, but I've come to understand that transparency, authenticity is leadership. That walking with your scars visible gives others permission to stop hiding. Just go ahead and pursue their dreams. I still cry. I still get scared. I still have doubts. But I don't let those feelings stop me anymore. Because I've seen what happens when I move through fear instead of waiting for it to disappear. Movement is medicine. Courage is a decision. And building your dream life is about doing it scared over and over again. Healing is not a straight line. Sometimes we spiral, sometimes we leap, sometimes we rest, and all of it is part of the process. Brooke Castiglia, in one of her latest, the life coach school, in one of her latest podcasts, where she was talking about, all being successful is, and everybody that she knows that's hugely successful is just one failure on top of the other. She was also talking about being anti-fragile and being tough and robust. And she said, she was talking about how, giving an example of someone that gets up to speak for the first time, public speaking, and in front of 25 people, and they clam up and freeze and they walk off the stage, Most people would never do it again, but some people, they might try again in a more subtle way. Other people, that have that fire and, they're scared, but they do it anyway. They, really mentally tough people might eventually go on to be an amazing speaker and conquer that fear. And when I heard that, it really resonated with me because I've always been a performer in plays and very charismatic and speaker and on the debate team and all this, National Honor Society and all that in high school, and then went on to college to be the same. So Brooke's story really resonated with me because I have been a fitness instructor for over 20 years. I have, 15 plus certifications because, of course, with every new thing that came out, you had to get certified in it. But when I first started, I started at an all-ladies workout place, and my mentor was a lady named Sandy. She was older than me, and she had been on the chorus line in California. I just thought she was, larger than life. She was such a good dancer. She was so amazing. So she told me, Heather, get together, a routine, and I want you to perform it for me and a couple of other women. And, I'll tell you what you need to work on, yada, yada, yada. And then if you feel like it's something that you want to do, you can sign up for an AFA or ACE certification. Those are, were the first two certifications back then that you got to be a fitness instructor, because back then you made up your own choreography. So yeah, everything, I sounded great, right? So I get together with them. I'm all excited. I have, what I'm going to say and all my cueing and everything down pat because she had taught me a lot. And I get up to do it. I'm doing the whole thing, and they're just sitting down watching me. And about 10 minutes in, I just get so nervous and I feel such imposter syndrome that I start bawling, crying, and I cannot continue. And I know that at that time, Sandy probably thought, oh, wow, I picked the wrong girl. This girl's never going to be an instructor. She cannot handle this. She is way too fragile. But I just kept going. And I remember in those early years when I first started teaching, that was before we made eye contact, where you turned around and faced your participants. Back then, your back was to the participants. You were looking in the mirror. And some classes still do it like that. Zumba still does it like that. But anyway, I couldn't even make eye contact with the class. I had to literally teach, like when they tell you, picture the audience as, doesn't have any clothes on or whatever. I literally had to do that. And this is from a girl. I was in plays. I was in drama. I was the star of a Mice and Men when I was in high school. I mean, I, gave presentations. I was on the debate team. So I felt very comfortable doing that. But being an instructor was something different that I'd never done, a fitness instructor. But I did go on to get my certification. And now, I've taught to hundreds of women. I've taught on stages to, so many people. And at Meridian Park, at Gold's Gym in McDonough, Gold's Gym in Conyers, Fitness International, LA Fitness, in huge auditoriums for launches at events, in front of thousands for the American Heart Association and United Way and, at conferences. But it's just so interesting that when we feel that fear, if we push past it and just keep going, when it's something we desire, when it's something that we want to do and we know in our hearts that we want, just go for it. You've got this. Okay, so now let's talk about why we behave this way. What's the psychology of self-sabotage, shame, seeking safety? Why do we have that neurological triad where our brain, avoids pain and seeks pleasure? So imagine this. You're lying in a gorgeous hotel bed with velvet curtains. Candles are lit. Lavender is in the air. You should feel powerful. You should feel proud. You just launched a podcast. You got a promotion. You taught a sold out class. Whatever it is your accomplishment is. But instead, you're weeping quietly under your pillow, wondering why you don't feel like enough. And here's why. Our subconscious mind is always trying to protect us, even when it sabotages us. Most shame, self-sabotage, or escapism stems from unprocessed emotional pain and core beliefs that we developed in childhood. For me, they sound like, I am not enough. If I succeed, people will leave me. If I'm too smart or successful, no man will ever love me. My husband will leave me. Another one is, I have to be perfect to be loved. So when you finally begin stepping into your power, your brain sounds the alarm. Danger, danger, no, this is, unfamiliar. Maybe you even tell yourself this is sinful or wrong. This doesn't match who we think we are. I'm making too much money. This is too successful. And that's when you might pull away from your partner. The love's too scary. You might drink too much. You might skip the workout, pick a fight. Not because you're weak, but because your nervous system is dysregulated. It might associate visibility, love, or success with danger or rejection, because at one point it was. Trauma-informed psychology tells us that the brain prioritizes safety over success. If you've learned to equate chaos with safety, like if you had an alcoholic parent, then safety and success can feel threatening. If your nervous system is stuck in fight or flight, you'll unconsciously recreate stress just to feel normal. And I want you to know you're not crazy, you're not a failure, you're just human. So here's some actionable strategies that we can start moving through our duality and start taking back our power. Number 1, name the contradiction. Where in your life are you both succeeding and struggling? I can be both healing and rising. I am a complex person, but I'm also whole. We're complex, okay? Number 2, forgive your past self. What decision am I still holding shame over? What did that version of me need? Write a love letter to her. Number 3, keep moving forward. What small action can I take this week to show up for my dreams? Affirm that fear does not disqualify me. I'm becoming, and take one small action. Number 4, please do this. Release the all or nothing mindset. Where am I being too hard on myself to be perfect? Journal this. What does a softer version of growth look like? Let's choose progress over perfection. Number 5, normalize duality. Journal. What opposing truths are living in me right now? And affirm I am allowed to be both powerful and vulnerable, sexy and smart, successful and loving. Next, use movement as medicine. Try 10 minutes of yoga or soulful dance in your living room, a sensual Pilates class, an intuitive walk outside. These practices help release stored trauma and recalibrate our nervous system. Moving the body, especially through rhythmic motion like walking or dancing, activates our parasympathetic nervous system, and it tells your brain, we are safe, we are okay. Number 7, go on an intentional adventure. Plan a small solo outing, try a new cafe, hike a new trail, spend a day exploring a local museum or a little, downtown square or something. This can be renewing. And ask yourself, what does play look like for me today? Number 8, practice soulful rituals. Meditate for 5 minutes. Light a candle. Do a devotion. Pray. Do breath work practice or say a simple prayer of gratitude. These rituals will ground you. They'll anchor you in the present and remind you of your power and your spirituality. Number 9. All right, now number 9 is shadow work. This one has been so good for me because it forces you to look at the parts that you don't like about yourself, right? Journal, what parts of myself am I afraid to show others? And sometimes it's just things that aren't even bad, but for some reason you think they're bad. What bad traits do I deny or suppress? And then explore one of those parts with compassion. Like, how has this trait or behavior protected you? How has it made you feel safe? Next, reclaim your self-worth. For years, I've struggled with self-worth, and that's the next one. Let's reclaim our sense of worth. For years, even recently, even I still sometimes do this, but it used to be worse. I saw external validation so badly. Approval, attention, applause, likes, praise. But no amount of attention, no amount of applause can fill the void in your heart if you don't believe it. So journal, what makes me feel worthy outside of what I do, outside of what I achieve, outside of what I produce. Because your worth is not earned. Your worth is inherent. You are worth more than rubies. You're worth more than diamonds. You are a masterpiece. Remember, you are not broken. You are becoming. You are radiant. You are an evolving woman. Your healing is your strength. Failing, messing up, and getting right back up and trying again, dusting yourself off, that is strength, my friend. That is toughness. That is healing in action. So let's talk about why these strategies actually work. The practices that we've been talking about, movement, journaling, breath work, mindset work, even play and adventure, aren't just feel-good routines. They are evidence-based pathways to emotional regulation and identity transformation. And here's why they help. Movement rewires your brain. Physical movement, especially rhythmic or creative movement like dance, yoga, Pilates, walking, stimulates the prefrontal cortex, decision-making part of our brain, while calming the amygdala, that's the fear center of our brain. So it literally helps you process stored trauma and regulate your emotion. Somatic therapy research shows that moving your body can release trapped emotions, reduce your cortisol, the stress hormone, and restore a sense of joy and agency. Journaling and shadow work integrate your identity. When you write your story down, you activate your brain's default mode network, which helps integrate memory and meaning. So naming your inner contradictions through journaling allows the left brain, logic, and the right brain, emotion, to communicate, and that is healing. Writing about traumatic or emotional experiences for even 15 minutes a day has been shown in multiple studies to improve mental health, reduce doctor visits, and increase immunity that even makes you less sick, right? Next, prayer, meditation, breath work, spirituality resets your nervous system. These practices stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode, and they help calm your overactive fear responses. They teach your body what safety feels like without needing chaos to get there. Next, adventure builds new neural pathways. Trying new things, traveling, or even just playful novelty like dancing around your living room or pretending with your child. Even a new class or doing something spontaneous can help revive your brain's reward system. I can experience joy and aliveness without pain. Next, self-worth is embodied, not intellectual. You don't build self-worth by thinking your way there. You practice it. You live like someone who's worthy. You treat your body, your calendar, your energy, and your relationships like you matter. Neuroplasticity research confirms that identity follows action. When you act in alignment with your next level self again and again, your brain rewires, your nervous system adapts, and you become her. That's why you always hear people saying, act like who you want to be, not who you are. And that's a spiritual concept too, called faith. I just want you to know you don't have to be perfect to be powerful. You don't have to arrive to start. You are worthy of your dream life right now, even in your messy moments. Keep moving, keep healing, keep becoming her. I am with you every step of the way with so much love, so much caring. I'm cheering you on, and I believe in you. Because if I can do it, anybody could do it. You've got this. And don't forget, you are amazing.
Could see that you're good enough.